for being there. It's TMI Tuesday, and I'm Philip Omo-Gupon. I did say we'll be looking at executive and legislative feud, what transpired some days back over the back and forth on the president refusing to give assent to the 2018 Electoral Act Amendment Bill and the strain it might be causing. And lawmakers, divided within the chambers, the two chambers of the National Assembly, what strain it could be producing on the presidency. We look at this, and I have distinguished personalities to discuss this very sensitive topic with me. The threats of this feud, what it has on the economy. From my immediate left, I have the former senior special assistant to the then Governor Adams Oshomole on legal matters. He's no one else but Adams Aliu. He's a constitutional lawyer and notary public of Nigeria. Many thanks for coming, Adams Aliu.
Good morning, viewers.
And next, I also have the former senior special assistant to the then Governor Adams Oshomole on politics and strategy. He is the erudite Ayamekwe Edokpolo. Many thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Philip.
And next, I have an educational expert and one who is the director of Africa Emancipation Movement and also the president of Association for Formidable Education and Development, Osage Godsent Erunse. Thank you for coming, Osage.
Thank you, Philip. My pleasure again. Thank you.
Okay, hitting the ground running, we'll look at what transpired some days back, looking at the Electoral Act Amendment Bill for 2018, the president refusing assent. That's no news anymore, but we are having the splashes of what that has cost on the National Assembly and the very fact that the strain that it may be causing. And tomorrow being the 19th day of December, the president is supposed to be presenting the 2019 budget. But do you see the strain, the feud, as causing a setback? Because presently we also have the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria person on a warning strike for 4 days. And that obviously is also affecting the possible meeting for tomorrow. But what do you see about this on the impact it will have on the economy, Adams?
Well, constitutionally, the president is empowered when a bill is sent to his either to amend the signature and assents or to refuse it. And the Constitution does not provide for the number of times he can refuse to amend. This time around, he merely sent it back for them to dot the T's, dot the I's, wait till the next election.
For the fourth time.
Yeah. So the president acted intra vires within his power not to sign. Because the constitutional provision is that the bill is sent to him, within 30 days, he can assent to it or withhold his assets. So he's acted intra vires within his power. Then for the parliamentary staff members that are on strike, that is neither here nor there. If they don't want the parliamentarian legislator members to sit, it is where, in law for instance, it is where the judge is, that is the court, that becomes the locus incum. In the instant case, the honorable members, distinguished senator, they can carry their miss and meet somewhere else. It is not the building that is the legislative building. The building can be anywhere else. So, but we hope they will resolve their differences, etc. But I'm sure the honorable legislators and the citizens can meet somewhere else with the means in session.
Okay, looking at what we have here, the challenge that this strain may be producing in terms of the feud between the legislative and the executive chambers. Do you think it's a threat to the economy based on present circumstances?
Well, there is no way we can rule out, threats to the economy, because whenever the legislature and the executive are entangled, over issues that borders on the life of the country, certainly it generates, positive and negative interests, and it have some flashes of threats in the economy. Even investors, especially foreign investors, they look at the feud as one of those things that can make them sit or go back to their country. But the point in issue is that as we speak today, this is not a major, doesn't portend a major threat candidly speaking.
It doesn't portend any major threat.
It doesn't put, there are threats, but it doesn't portend, it doesn't present itself as a major threat in the sense that there is nowhere in the world you don't have this type of feud from time to time. Like the erudite lawyer Adam Saliu has quite informed us. The president is empowered to either append or withhold his assets. And the window of overriding the president is given to the National Assembly. They can exercise that if they want. And looking at the Electoral Act as amended, or the so-called Electoral Act as we speak, there are certain clauses there, that portends, serious threats, to the forthcoming election itself. There is a clause in the Electoral Act, which is not, substantially in public domain,
okay,
that makes it compulsory for presidential candidates, regardless of whether the person is president or not, to submit himself or herself to the presidential debate. And this is coming at a time when the president has expressed his reservation as to his inability to engage any presidential opponent, so to speak, because of the traffic of his activities here and there as president, and because of one or two things which some persons may want to tie to his head or whatever.
Okay, but should that be a priority over the transparency of the electoral process?
It's the electoral protocol. It's a part of it. It's a part of it. You cannot overrule. You see, it is coming at a time when the president has expressed, just like me saying, I'm not sure I'll be able to attend so and so meeting somewhere. Then you are not passing a law, making it compulsory for me to, it shows that there are certain things, that there are certain interests that you want to achieve with all of that. But again, there is another part of the ECOWAS treaty. There's an ECOWAS treaty which states clearly that where the executive and legislature of member states have disputes over electoral act or over certain aspect of the electoral act, 6 months before the election, that such actions be declared non and void.
Is it binding?
Of course, it's binding.
We are signatories.
We are signatories to it. Nigeria is a member state of the ECOWAS. So the point I'm making is that, yes, it is a threat.
Okay, but this same issue also transpired in 2015.
Yeah,
where the then President Jonathan Goodluck a few days to the election did that. So why didn't the ECOWAS protocol come up there?
No, you see, that you are not getting it, which means you do not understand the spirit of the ECOWAS protocol.
Okay.
What the ECOWAS protocol is saying, where there is disagreement between the executive and legislature, then the section of the treaty which says that 6 months before the election, such things should be held. So a day before the election, if President Buhari says he accepts the tandem with what the protocol does not apply. But when there is disagreement, then that's where the protocol takes effect.
Okay, but we are looking at this and how it may impact the economy negatively, because the president was supposed to be presenting the 2019 budget tomorrow, and the person, the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, they are giving a 4-day warning strike, and this aspect of the FEUD. Looking at it, because there's been this promise by the APC government that they are going to reset their budget cycle, and let's have it from January to December, a full cycle, without being elongated by 4 months or 6 months thereabout. But is that promise coming to fusion? Is it possible? Looking at what we have here.
See, the president, I'm aware, is out of the country as I speak.
In Nigeria Republic,
He's in Nigeria Republic, and these things are done. They are split seconds, so to say, because the president has a private jet, has a presidential jet, so he can zoom off from wherever he is to come and honor, and he may wish to delegate such powers to the vice president if he also intends to do so. But as a matter of fact, I am of the opinion that the president Buhari, that has so far exemplified himself as a man committed to the yearnings and aspirations of our people, will not deviate from that promise.
Okay.
And I see him keeping that promise.
Okay. Osage got sense. There's been this build-up, and some lawmakers are threatening that they may boycott the presentation of the 2019 budget, as in looking at what may be transpiring tomorrow. And all of this feud, don't you see it as a negative toll?
Let me begin by saying that, frankly speaking, there is always a room for disagreement between the parliamentary, the legislatures and the executives. There's always a room. But my problem with the Nigerian politics is that what we practice in this country is not democracy, it's party politics. When you look at, if you go back memory lane briefly, you'll notice that there have been this tussle, fine, there have been this disagreement. But these disagreements have also come to affect major issues. It is now a bitter politics. It is about party supremacy.
Acquiring of power.
Yeah, it's about party supremacy. It's about I must hold on. It's about I must be there. I don't want to subscribe to the fact that there's no time for Buhari to pass the electoral bill. I think it's deliberate, personally speaking. Because this electoral bill started since 2016. I mean, the Senate started working on it, and for a while, it's been there. For the first time, it was rejected. For the second time, it was rejected. For the third time, it was rejected. This is the fourth time. And you're telling me that there's no time. It's not about there's no time. One of the problems we have in this country is we have a way of explaining everything to suit our party purposes, but at the detriment of the ideology of nationhood. I need us to realize that it's the same thing that is going to happen with the appropriation bill, the budget bill. It's the same thing that is going to happen. For me personally, I do not see that promise coming to pass. I do not see how the Senate are going to pass the bill into law by January. Okay, if you go back memory lane, right from 2017, it has always been the same thing. And we always have an explanation to it. The president rejected this and rejected this, we're backing it up, and we always have an explanation to it. See, one of the things that give credence to a democratic government is the quality of its electoral processes, the transparency. Politics is not about the politicians, it's about the people.
Okay, but
it's about how it affects the commoners. And we must point that straight.
Okay.
And I think we must see it from that angle, not just about it's late. Now, the president has said that he's going to assent to the bill after election. What some people are saying is, why after election? Why the tactful delay till this time? But one of the things I want to say
but the National Assembly have the right to override the president's decision.
Clearly, see, they have the right to explore that. It takes us back to what I'm saying. It's a party politics thing. How many party members in power will want to truncate their chances when election is February 19th?
If it's for the general good of the people.
Sorry?
If it's for the general good of the people.
That is what we are saying. Selfish politics. See, Phil, it's not about personal, it's not about national interest. It's about personal interest. That is the Nigeria politics. Okay? If you are part of a certain political party, you do everything to defend the action of that party, especially when it's close to election. Now, let's go proper into the budget. Since 2017 till now, it's been the same cycle. The promise is there that we want to return back to the normal budget calendar, January to December. But obviously it's not going to be.
Because we have the election year 2019.
Now, let's also say that we must give the legislative some right of processes. You don't just get a bill and expect that automatically they are going to pass it through. If you look at the 2017 and the 2018 budget, you notice that what happened then is similar to what is happening. The budget is being presented late. Why can't we present budget on time? It's an issue in this country. We will always have an explanation to it as politicians. Because we do everything to secure our party, not the nation.
Okay.
Now that's my problem.
Okay.
Because now, very soon the legislature will go on recess.
For Christmas break.
For Christmas and New Year.
And even parliamentary status of Nigeria.
Fine, that is another issue. Then the election is February 19th.
Yes, so there's a big factor here, Adams Aliyu. You mentioned the fact that, yes, it can be done. But with what Osagi Gosen just said, will you want to go back and rephrase? Because this whole aspect here is we are in December, and there's the 18th day of December, and it's expected to be presented tomorrow 19, and you don't expect to get the lawmakers just agree on that. There must be some things that they have to pick out and discuss about, and they need more time on that, and time is of essence. So how do we tackle that?
In constitutional matters, it is malafide in bad faith to be speculative, pessimistic, presumptive. In anticipation, you are always prejudicial. There is time. We are not in 2019. Remember that you know the story of Julius Caesar. when he was told to beware the eyes of March by Temidorus, his here. 6 a.m. of that very 15th March, because Caesar was very complacent, bold, proud, he woke the man up, say, you see now, today is the eyes of March. Nothing has happened. The man told him that the eyes of March has gone, but it is not gone. He dressed up, went to the capital to go and hold meeting. He was killed there. He was warned that he should beware of such and such a day. 6 a.m. he said, you see now, today has started. Nothing has happened. The man said, the day has gone, but it has not gone.
But can we forget history?
So what I'm trying to say,
can we forget history?
We have not reached 2019. We should not be presumptive.
We just have 14 days.
It doesn't matter.
Basically, the National Assembly will take Christmas break.
There is the vice presidency is on ground. To assess does not take long time to write a composition or essay. So let us be open-minded and positive looking, not prejudicial and judgmental prematurely. For the constitutional provision, if the president acted or traversed, it's not out of his face. 109 senators, 2/3 gives us about 70. Let us see how easy, feasible it is to gather 70 senators, distinguished senators, 2/3 of 109 approximately, to veto. It is not as simplistic. So we should.
Majority of them are also gunning for 2019 race, and it's possible that they will be on their campaign grounds.
It's there that they could veto the president.
Yes.
If they have 2/3
yes.
of 109.
Okay.
And I tell you, it's not simplistic to get 70%. So, as nationalists, as law-abiding citizens, we should not be prejudicial, presumptive, and always judgmental prematurely.
Okay, I said that to say this. This whole aspect, I am aware. The whole aspect took a new twist again, a new turn some days back, where the House of Rep brought about the first reading of the parliamentary system of government for Nigeria. Some argue that this could be as a result of what the feud or the issues they've been having with the executive president. But do you see this as the way forward?
Much as I personally embrace parliamentary system of government, you know, as the right compass, you know, to take the country to the next level.
Yes.
Just now, as canvassed by the National Assembly, I want to vehemently disagree with the timing of this conceptualization. Reason being that it is not unconnected to the feud between the executive
and the legislature.
And for me, it becomes reactionary tendency, becomes a tendency expressed out of reactionary interest. And for me, that should not be the character of a 21st century National Assembly men and women. The fact that you and your tenants are having issues, then you now say, no, I want us to have a law. I want us to have a law that makes it binding, that once a landlord gives a quick notice to a tenant, the tenant must pack within 6 hours. But when both of you were eating rice and yam together, you were saying, I wish this relationship will continue forever. You see, we must divorce ourselves, you know, from reactionary tendencies. Yes, the president has been having a running battle, or the presidency, the executive arm of government, so to speak, has been having a running battle with the legislature over the manner in which the Senate president emerged, or the House of Reps Speaker emerged, and all of that. And that has created some level of crescendos here and there. And I would think that in the interest of the country, the National Assembly must carry themselves as patriotic officers of the country. And if you are patriotic, you will not harbor reactionary tendencies. Now, looking at the executive all over the world, the presidential system of government is very, very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Extremely.
But there's this impression that in the presidential system of government, there's more power domiciled in the president.
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is very, very expensive. Okay. And the president, all over the world, the presidential system of government has enormous powers. Has so much powers.
Which probably the lawmakers are trying to check.
No, it comes with it. It naturally comes with presidential system of government. Or if you want to skew it because you are not happy with this man today, you want to reduce it, you will be conceptualizing a different system of government altogether. Presidential system of government comes with enormity of powers. I'm telling you, I will give you a classical example. When Saddam Hussein behaved in a certain way he behaved in the international television, and following the 9/11 attack on the United States, you know what George Bush Jr. did? He deployed the U.S. armies and marines to move straight to Iraq, and he wrote a letter to the Senate, to the National Assembly, the Senate and the Congress. You know what he wrote in that letter? He said, "As I address you today, say the U.S. army are on their way to Iraq." He was not seeking their permission, because by the powers of the presidential system of government that he superintends, he has the enormous power.
Discretionary powers.
No, it's not even discretionary.
Okay.
It's not even discretionary. It's executive in itself. It's not discretionary. You know, he has that power to say that he was responding to threats. You understand? So under issues of response to threat, for instance, the president can order the closure of the National Assembly. For instance, he can say he got a threat, he got his security reports, which says that there is going to be bombing of that plane. So he just said, let's close the plane. Okay. So I'm telling you, so the point I'm trying to say is that I agree that it is very, very expensive and it is not sustainable. I'm the one telling you, it is not sustainable. Presidential system of government is not sustainable. Parliamentary system, I have always embraced. However, the timing of this conceptualization is laced with reactionary tendency, and it is not in the best interest of our country.
Okay, I ask you again, like what the president said some time back, that the economy is in bad shape.
Yeah.
And that has been dominating discourse across the political landscape of the country. Yeah. And again, there's this belief that the parliamentary system tends to bring about build-up of consensus, of raising economic decisions, which ordinarily in the presidential system, the ability to raise that consensus decision is not available. Don't you see that?
You see, my point of departure is first of all to appreciate President Muhammadu Buhari in his expression of uncommon sincerity. You see, Nigeria at a time we were said to be second largest economy in Africa, and this and this and that. But in terms of critical evaluation of what is on ground, we are just dancing on the keg of gunpowder. We are neither here nor there, because the foundations that the economic foundations that defines, you know, a growth in our economy, we were not there in those indices.
Almost 4 years. Is almost 4 years not enough?
The fact that
to take us somewhere.
I agree. The fact that
the situation is worse now.
No, I will come to what your perception of worse is. But let me try and appreciate the sincerity. You see, the problem we have had is if things are bad, we try to say no, they are not bad, they are not bad, they are not bad. But a man has come to tell me that things are not well with the country.
In spite of the over 3.5 years of
it's not about this spite. You see, as we speak now, Donald Trump is highly rated in the United States because of the booming of the economy. The economists, an international organization that study world economies, have said repeatedly that Donald Trump is enjoying the fruits of the Obama's administration. Because what you do as governor or as a government, you do not enjoy it in the immediate. But if you have a second term, for instance, you can enjoy a part of it. But those build-ups are enjoyed by succeeding administrations. So as we speak just now, what we are suffering today is not the maladministration of Buhari's administration, it's the maladministration of the past. Now, if another government comes in now, assuming 2019, another government comes in, and that government is not able to enjoy what he ought to enjoy, that credit, that discredit will be given to Buhari for maladministration of the country.
But the second,
as we speak right now, the maladministration of the country of the past is what we are reaping now.
Back to you. I'll come back to you. There's this build-up and in the National Assembly that brought about the decision to bring about a parliamentary system of government. And it is believed that the present administration of Muhammadu Buhari does not bring consensus of economic decisions that could also take the country to a better pedestal. What's your argument on that?
Let me begin by saying that, like I've always said, when you bring politics into governance, it can lead us as a nation to anarchy.
But you can't separate politics from governance.
But there is a limit to it. The problem we have in Edo State, Nigeria, is we have no limit to our politicking. There's politics everywhere, even in the church. The word politics is not a bad concept. It's logic. It has a lot to do with logic and semantics.
Or is it helping us?
But there's a limit. That's what we are talking about. Where I think we cross the boundary is when politics become mixed up with personal interest over national interest, national development. I quite agree that a lot of times government decision does not have to be popular. But how does it affect the commoners? How does it affect the economy? For me, the economy has gone worse today. See, the problem we have is not whether we need a parliamentary system. I'm not a fan of the presidential system but you need to realize that the presidential system, according to the Constitution, is also a fine system. Because the system, the separation of power clause is there. But the problem we have in the Nigerian sector is not respected. Now, part of the allegation we've had about this government is a situation where the government, like he said, submits names of appointees, and the person is already working. For clearance, the Deputy Senate President was saying that yesterday on channels. Okay, so my take is this: there are structures that drives governance. Whether you call it parliamentary or you call it presidential, we lack it. And one of such is values, integrity, character, principle. And that is what we lack as Nigeria. My concern is we should save this country rather than saving a political party. Because if you say we are better off today, now let me say that you can't separate the current happening to the past. There's always a connection.
Yeah.
Okay? But it is wrong to blame one government for the present menace of the Nigeria situation. So excessive government deserving of blame. Yes. It is deserving of blame. You know what, comrade, if we have the opportunity to talk, I think this government deserves more blames. Things are worse off. There are structures, there are indices. What we see is paper. Now they say the economy have gone down, but things are worse off. Bag of rice is still the same. Things are worse off. It's the same thing when you say Nigeria had one of the most robust economy in the world, in good luck regime. I also said on media, but how does it affect the common man? Okay, now look at the tussle with this, the budget. I don't know if you are aware that up to 10% of 2018 capital component expenditures has not been actualized. Up to 10%.
That's a setback.
And yes, that's a setback. Experts have said that when there is delay in passage of a budget like this, there's every possibility that you won't even spend up to more than 40% of the capital expenses. Now, in our own case, we have not even spent up to 10%. There is a possibility that there will be loss of jobs. There's a possibility that both foreign and domestic investors will be afraid because they can't even interpret the government policies.
Possibility in spite of the campaign promises?
Yeah, but that statement is it realistic?
Our situation is compounded.
As we round off, I want your reaction on what Osagie Godson said. Just as I know that IMF is getting ready to also react to that and set us on the right foot.
The issue of parliamentary system that is being sought for is not bad because we have tried this from 1960 to 65. We were operating parliamentary system. It was the military interregnum 66 to 79, and 1979 I brought executive presidency. If you look at section 130 of the Constitution, says the president is the commander-in-chief, is the chief executive, is the head of state. The powers are concentrated. And the president has the whole country as his constituency. But if you were to come to parliamentary Westminster system, the prime minister, who is the de facto head of government, is chosen from the people. You don't contest election to be prime minister.
Okay.
You contest to be
Okay, so you mean to say that? So you mean to say that that system would have worked for us based on the present circumstances we are faced with?
Because when
the economy being in bad shape,
when the
not being able to kickstart the cabinet in time.
One of them,
okay,
class monitor.
Okay,
the law will say primus inter pares. And it becomes But now somebody contests election with Nigeria as the whole constituency. He wins majority votes. He wins 1/4 or 2/3 of it. So he has all the powers in the world. He has the money. He has the glory, and he has everything in his hand. That's why my co-contributor talked about those presidency when he was fighting right.
All right.
So for this very well, it's only the timing. Amendments should not be made in bad faith 60 days to the election. That's what we are saying. And to do that, you must amend the constitution. And the procedure to amend the constitution, apart from the National Assembly in Abuja, all the state houses of assembly must equally be party to it. This one will obviously take time.
Okay.
So we are looking at, if we have tried to, and we now know the better, we could really change, but the time must end should be reasonable. It should not be laden with personal interest or personal hatred for the occupant and incumbent of a particular.
Okay, let me ask you a direct question. By what you just said, I think we should be optimistic.
We should be optimistic.
Now, do you see 2019 as a year where the APC government's promise will come to pass in terms of resetting the budget cycle?
They have promised to take Nigerians to the next level, and the facts, the indices are there, and we don't expect a utopia or an El Dorado. So there might be disagreements here and there. The election will still go. Anarchy will not come in. Military regime will not come in.
I thought I asked a question that just demanded a yes.
Okay, whether I see the APC
government, because that was the promise, that they will reset the budgeting cycle from January to December.
Yeah.
Now, do you see it possible this 2019?
I see it possible because 2018 has gone. It has not gone.
Thank you. I am aware.
Yeah, my take is very clear that if we take the unnecessary legislative delays,
Yes.
in overlooking at the budget and all that, quite naturally, a good legislature should be able to deal with budget presentation within 1 month.
Within 1 month?
Yeah.
If the coast is clear.
No, you see, if
the coast is clear, because from what we see now, it's like a smoke screen.
If we say country first,
Yes.
1 month is enough to deal with budget. What are we really dealing with? Because if you look, take a micro or a macroscopic view at the National Assembly, even from the standpoint of your television, how many of them comes to sitting? How many of them? So that also explains, the charlatans, charlatantic approach they are going to give at their committee level. And so we must put country first. In putting country first, it means that if it's Tuesday that is sitting, we should expect not less than 95% of members on seat.
Yes.
But you will not find that. So it tells you how they are also going to be treating with levity issues of the country at their committee level.
Thank you.
And this is a sad commentary. So my appeal just now is that the executive and the legislature must put country first. I agree with my brother that there must be limits in politics as far as issues of the country is concerned. I agree with him. But I also told him that there is nowhere you can remove politics. But I agree, both of us agree, that there must be some level of limits, in the application of politics.
Thank you very much.
I don't see the possibility of meeting the January target.
Based on present circumstances?
Yes, I don't see the possibility. No, I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being realistic, sir. I'm being realistic. You know why I'm being realistic? Yes, because See, part of the reason is, look at the facts on ground. You can't deny an ordinary legislative member his recess, his break.
Yes.
Then decide that after the break, there's an election.
And the break is coming. Is the break usually will come
I don't want us to shift the blame on the legislative arm only.
Okay.
Where has the executive been all this while? Why is the budget coming December?
Okay.
We have to be robust in our analysis.
But there has been this argument that even the National Assembly has been the one delaying the budget, like what the minister said. Although he has been asked to tender an apology over that.
No, but he also said he really didn't say that. Yes, he also denied that. He did not say that.
Yes.
But let me conclusively say that both the executive arm and the legislative have a critical role to play. Okay, then if you look at about 2 years ago, the legislative also brought a clause to the budget. They also insisted that all ministry has to present theirs, which they have to defend,
and which they have to pass. Now that they have a right under the habit of the law to also do. Now before they go through all those processes, January is not in view, sir. Well, that is in view of the issues on ground.
Thank you, Osagi Godson. Thank you, Ayamekwe Bepolo, and thank you, Adam Saliu. Well, we must take it right to the right pedestal where the country should be. And these discussions have been on in respect of ensuring that the country is better off for it. Whether it be presidential or parliamentary, will it be for the general good of the people? That should be the first interest. And that priority should make the National Assembly, the executive, to ensure that they put on their thinking cap and bring the country to a better pedestal. 2019 is just a few days, 14 days coming. And then we'll be looking at the 2019 election, how that will pan out. Well, time will tell. That's what we call it a wrap on the discussion segment, but it's still TMI. Don't you go away.